You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
My name is Seth Draken, joined always by Mike Pullen.
Good evening, those who are listening.
And this week's episode will be called Pardon the Interruptions. We first got to go into, before we get to the main show, I guess we got to go into some news. And boy, was there plenty. Like, there's been talk that Chris Sabin will be leaving TNA.
Yep.
Which you probably knew that was going to happen when Alex Shelley left.
I saw that story on Monday, maybe?
Mm-hmm. We also have a potential former TNA talent returning rumor.
Dustin Runnels!
Which is Dustin's son!
Who nobody wants to see anymore. We didn't want to see 5 years ago.
Joey Ryan claiming that the gut check was a shoot.
Sure it was.
Oh, D'Angelo De Niro will appear in an episode of Necessary Roughness on the USA Network.
Yay!
We had Karen Jarrett talking smack about Dixie Carter on Twitter.
Can't fight!
Well, I mean, Karen Jarrett talking smack about Dixie Carter. Is that what I said?
You said Karen Jarrett talking smack about Dixie Carter, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was right. Shannon Moore is not returning.
Who cares?
Yep, nobody cares. And let's see. We heard that a knockout segment was cut from the live show because of time segment last week.
Damn you, Brooke Hogan.
Yeah, Brooke Hogan. Impact's rating was a piece of crap.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, last week's ratings was an 0.89.
That's funny.
We got here, TNA. Remember TNA? It's a TNA.
Yeah, remember TNA.
So they've gone from a 1.1 for a tape show to an 0.89 for a live show.
Yeah, although they had a lot of... Apparently, I don't know what they had excuses for.
Apparently Brooke Hogan doesn't equal ratings.
Yeah, unlike what that fat Hulkster wannabe said. Not Hogan himself. That guy in the freaking audience.
Brooke Hogan equals ratings, apparently.
Yeah, that's something.
No, she equals change the channel, but anyway.
And TNA is considering less yearly pay-per-views.
Well, I mean, their buy rates are pretty bad from most pay-per-views anyway.
Yeah, that'd be smart. But let's get to the
Only we could get WWE to do that.
Oh, yeah. That's not going to happen.
Yes, because when you're not making money, you just up the price.
Yeah.
So about to fall asleep, for God's sake. That's bullshit.
Please, let's get to the spoilers. And hopefully that'll be cut out.
No, keep it in.
Oh, dear God, no. After looking back we also started the show with looking back at what Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian did with that ultra juicy audio recording.
Stop it right now, you're done.
Yeah, and Dixie basically cutting everything out. So,
moment too late.
So, we come back and Dixie's in the ring about to explain everything. Well...
Or have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, and then, of course, we get our first interruption, Daniels and Kazarian.
Of course.
They basically
We saved the segment.
They bully Dixie, AJ comes out, clears them out, Surge comes somewhere.
Where did he come?
And then punches AJ Styles in the face.
Oh, Lord. Are we going to have AJ versus Surge at a pay-per-view eventually? With Dixie on the pole?
I don't know, but Surge is the last person to be complaining about a Carter getting some strange. And of course, Dixie could probably clear this all up in a heartbreak beat, but she's too weak to do so.
We did it.
Yeah. And I did love the backstage segment where they're looking like she's going to fire the set. Who told you to play that? I was like, Dixie, firing people is not for playing incriminating evidence doesn't look good. It makes you look like she like I said before, a few weeks ago, I said AJ Styles really needed to really explain some stuff and not go with it's not what you seem. Dixie really needs to do that now too, because she has explained nothing.
To the shock of no one.
Yeah. We go to a commercial break, and during these commercial breaks, we get YouTube clips. And we get announced that Crimson's going to take on Austin Aries. We get a pre-taped interview with Austin Aries, who says that Crimson has a streak, but he is the X Division champion, and is the best dressed man in TNA.
Get rid of the cape, Aries.
Hey, I like the cape. Come on. He said that just short of a year since returning. He's just short of a year since returning, and Chris Sabin was a hard challenge for him last week. But he had to dig down deep and win. And like he did with Bully Ray, too.
He won convincingly over Bully Ray, sort of.
And they asked him about his thoughts about what just went down with that whole thing, that whole love triangle thing. He said as the longest reigning champion in TNA, he doesn't have time to worry about other people's business.
I thought Bobby Roode was the longest reigning champion in TNA.
No, he's the longest reigning world champion.
Oh.
Aries has held that belt longer than Roode has. After the commercial break, we then get Mike Tenay saying that what we saw was uncomfortable, but so we needed to see it again. And they replayed the damn thing.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, and we're gonna show it one more time.
Yep. And then Aries has a little backstage run-in with Samoa Joe, who was kind of mad about accidentally spraying Joe in the face about Aries spraying him in the face last week. And Aries said he meant no disrespect, and if he did, he'd know it. And then gives Joe water. A water bottle. You could basically play this out in your head, and you know what? That's the beauty of it. Sometimes actually stuff happening that makes sense.
And so Stevie was talking about.
Austin Aries is actually doing very well until Samoa Joe comes out, beats him up, sends him into the ring for Crimson to get the pin.
And then Crimson issues an open challenge for Slammiversary, which will be inevitably answered by Matt Morgan.
Probably be, knowing TNA, it'll be answered by Eric Young.
Yes, because we have nothing better for him to do on the show.
Yeah, we have nothing better for him to do. But I did love some of Crimson's dialogue. He says he's been undefeated for 478 days, longer than even that dope Goldberg.
Except for like 3 months, the first 3 months of that, you only had like 3 matches.
I know.
Goldberg was wrestling every week.
I know. Hey, storyline. He says he's the most dominant man in professional wrestling history.
No.
Well, he's a heel. Come on. He's got to overstate that crap. Next up, we had Hulk Hogan backstage talking about a bunch of stuff, including saying that I don't know what the heck's going on with AJ and Dixie. He says basically Rude is dominating the world title division. I need to take care of that. And then says...
Wasn't there a Brooke Hogan segment in there somewhere, too?
No, he says he wishes Brooke luck in her new job and hopes she's ready for it. And then, during the commercial break, we had Danielson Kazarian getting interviewed by SoCal Val after Jeremy Borash refused to do so.
Nice way to do your job, Borash.
Daniel says they feel liberated by exposing Dixie and Styles' sordid affair. Kazarian said, if there was ever a time to wave the white flag and let the truth set you free, it is now.
The truth shall set you free.
There is damage happening to the Carter and Styles family, and that people want to blame the messengers, but they didn't draw first blood. And then SoCal asks, how do they know what they say is really going on? They said they showed everyone the proof, and if she doesn't believe them, what more can they say? And they walk off, and Val called them the most hated men in TNA.
Somehow I doubt that.
Then, after the commercial break, we had Brooke Hogan.
Oh, yes.
In the Knockouts locker room, telling Mickie James, Velvet Sky, Brooke, Tessmacher, and Tara how talented and beautiful they are, how tough they are, and books them in a 4-way match.
You knocked me out.
What?
Said you knocked me out.
Yeah. Books them in a 4-way match, and the winner gets the number 1 contendership for the Knockouts title. She also says that she's going to give them more media opportunities, and says that Velvet Sky will be in a Montgomery Gentry music video.
I was just going to say, but more important than all that, Velvet Sky is going to be in a music video.
Yeah, that's your media. Well, I guess you got to start somewhere.
You got to start on bottom, which she's probably used
Speaking of which, Hulk Hogan comes out to the ring. He's psyched to be there for TNA's 10-year anniversary.
Yes, and he was such a big part of it, Hulk.
He says, as a special surprise, next week there is going to be a world title defense, regardless of who walks out of Slammiversary with the belt. This brings out Bobby Roode, who really did excellent here, and he said Hogan should shut his mouth and show the world champion the respect he deserves, because Hogan's been showing him nothing but disrespect since a few weeks ago he became the longest reigning champion in history. He says last week he put him in a lumberjack match. The week before that he interrupted his ceremony. And since he's got Slammer, he beat Sting, he's got another title match. And I'm sorry for Hogan. And no, he continues. He says he thinks Hogan is jealous of Roode because even in his prime, Hogan could never even lace his boots. He said he's a better champion and wrestler than Hogan. One of those might be true. You're a better wrestler, And then grabs Hogan by the shirt and says to get out of his ring. You know, up until he was grabbing the guy's shirt, I absolutely was siding with Bobby Roode here. I don't think I'm supposed to do that for a heel. Do you?
No.
I mean, he's got a point. You basically interrupted his ceremony to bring out Sting and then get him attacked. And it booked this match that would be happening afterwards. That would be happening at the next show immediately with Sting and Bobby Roode, and putting a bunch of lumberjacks in the ring to basically do no what. They basically did nothing. And then you basically book 2 world title matches in a row. You know, yeah. I'm starting to get the feeling you're getting Teddy Long here in your BS. When Teddy Long basically booked Randy Orton against Christian after Christian went through a hellacious ladder match. So you're going to do the same thing here, Hogan. You remember how Orton was when they did that? And ratings slipped, TNA? Well, although you're going to blame that more on Orton, probably, which would be fair. But your face GM is really heelish here. It makes no goddamn sense. Hogan's supposed to be a fair man, and he's blatantly telling that he's trying to screw Bobby Roode. He's blatantly doing it, and he's telling everyone. You're supposed to be the face. You're not supposed to be doing that nonsense. Anyways, Bobby Roode, Sting's music hit, and Sting beats up Bobby Roode, who goes to the back. Then we get the knockouts backstage who are stretching.
Provocative.
During the commercial break, Jeremy Borash was with the TV champion who was preparing for his match with Robbie E later on.
Does he really need to prepare? How many times has he beaten Robbie E in the last month and a half?
Yeah. But they also went to the new person hawking TNA's merchandise. I don't know who this guy is, Jimmy J. Because Don West is gone.
Left.
Yeah. Don West is gone. Then we had Joseph Park backstage freaking out because went from a concerned family member looking for his brother, and now he might be in a little bit of a fight. So he's concerned. Then we have the 4-way knockouts match. This was mostly okay, except Velvet screws up some spots. I think she botched a pin attempt. Not a pin attempt, a breaking up.
How do you botch a pin attempt?
No, I don't mean a pin attempt. I meant breaking up a pin attempt. She botched that.
How do you botch that?
I don't know. Missed the person? Completely missed them?
I'm gonna break up this cover. Oops, I slipped.
No, oops, I missed. And then we had, during the because this went into a commercial break, we had Devon saying that he's going to get rid of that no piece of garbage, Robbie E.
Because you haven't been trying to do that in the last month and a half.
He said he beat Robbie T, he beat both of them, and what part of this does Robbie not understand? That he's not going to beat Devon. You know, I wish the writers would figure that out, too. But
would you rather have Garrett Bischoff with the TV title?
I don't know. Then they showed some footage of the Knockouts match ongoing, as Jeremy Borash talked over some things that have taken place during Impact. So yeah, there's a match going on, and he's talking about other stuff.
Shut up, Borash. Do that after the match.
And then I forgot Gail Kim's been out the whole time because she wants to commentate and see who her challenger's going to be.
And she seemed very disinterested.
Yeah, and here was one of the strangest things. And it was Velvet. And it was Velvet kicking and slapping. Kick, slap, some horrible kicks, and then a slap. And she did this 3 freaking times. And not one of her kicks landed.
Whoops, I missed. Whoops, I missed. Whoops, I missed.
And they just gave up on the freaking spot. It really, anyways.
She's terrible.
Brooke Tessmacher thankfully won. Thankfully, the knockout who's actually improving in the ring instead of the knockout who's unimproving in the ring.
The knockout who has had 4 years to improve in the ring.
I know. Velvet really... Brooke actually can wrestle. Stop putting Velvet in there. She's a valet.
Put Sarita in there. Put Sarita in there.
I know. She should really stick to valeting. Velvet should. And that's sad. But, and I know that's sexist kind of, but there are some people who should stick to managing, being on eye candy on the side, and then there are some people who can actually wrestle.
The reason Sensational Sherry actually did wrestling too is good. But there's a reason, like, is there a good reference here? I can't think of one.
Alright. Anyways, Bully Ray is backstage holding a new legal document that Joseph Park will have to has the fiduciary responsibility to sign. I think that means the best interest.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fiduciary. Fiduciary. I'm sorry.
Big
words. Big words sometimes.
Fiduciary.
Yeah. During the commercial break online, we had Jeremy Borash interview Joseph Park. And he's going to put up his dukes and fight at Slammiversary. He's never been in a fight, but won't back down to Bully Ray or anyone. He said he's going to defend his brother Chris. And then they asked Jeremy, they actually ask him on all that. He makes a bunch of stuff, but Jeremy then asks Joseph Park, that, what he thinks about what happened with Dixie Carter and Surge. Park says if anyone involved needs a good lawyer, they should call him.
Yeah.
Park left, and Bully Ray arrived. This is still the commercial that Borash should be petrified of what might happen in the ring. He said that his goal is to make everyone hate him. Borash says there were a lot of Brits watching, so Bully Ray ripped on them and said, "The Queen's Jubilee must be a porno." Yeah. We get back to the show, and we have to look back at all the events earlier on tonight.
Because we didn't already see them.
Who's on the phone with AJ Styles because AJ's booked for the main event tonight. I forgot about that. AJ left the building.
And he left the building.
And for some reason he's booked in the main event with Kurt Angle and Sting against Robert Roode and tag champs.
He wanted the quickie before the match.
I know, and he's like, I don't care if you're having personal issues. Get back here in the ring.
I'm doing something.
So then we go to the ring and have Jeremy Borash introduce a contract signing for a match we never thought we'd see between a self-professed bully, and a lawyer who's never been in a fight in his life. First, Bully Ray is introduced and does his "Do you know who I am" line.
Yes, we do, Bully Ray.
Which I think is kind of one of the worst catchphrases out there, because that's basically everyone's joke for when a celebrity arrests a cop. I mean, celebrity gets arrested by a cop. Sorry, I'm botching too. A celebrity gets arrested by a cop. Normally the joke is that the celebrity says, "Do you know who I am?"
No, nobody knows who you are. You're a celebrity. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Anyways, Borash introduced Joseph Park, who looks scared out of his mind. In the ring, Borash tears up the contract and saying that was a standard contract for a standard wrestling match.
Borash tore it up.
No, I meant Bully Ray. I'm sorry. Bully Ray tore it up. Bully Ray then says that he has a different contract that says if he injures Joseph Park, Joseph can't do a damn thing about it.
That's the contract you give a lawyer. If you hurt me, you can't do anything about it.
Joseph Park's like, if you think I'm crazy enough to sign, I'm not going to sign that.
2 minutes later.
So Bully Ray spits in his face. That works. And now Joseph Park's going to sign the contract. As he signs the contract, a video plays of Abyss from the Tron, not the Titantron, the Impactron, whatever they call it. Where Abyss is saying, Chris, stay out of my business. You're going to get hurt now.
You mean Joseph?
Yeah, I mean Joseph. Yeah, Joseph. God damn it, I'm getting confused tonight. This is actually a good show. I'm sorry about confusing you all.
A good segment, too.
Yeah, I know. This is a good segment. He warns Joseph that he's now going to get hurt. That he's probably going to get hurt now. But he asks Bubba, since he left him for dead, supposedly, how dead does he look?
I will be at Slammiversary.
And he'll be at Slammiversary.
You're going to be at Slammiversary? Really?
And Bubba nails Joseph from behind to leave the ring to end that segment. I think I know where they're going with this. And I think it's kind of ingenious.
Joseph Park's going to get his ass kicked, the pyro's going to explode, and Abyss is going to come out.
I think...
Where do you think?
Joseph Park is Abyss.
No.
Dual personalities.
Yes. Dr.
Dual
Jekyll
personalities.
And Mr. Hyde.
Joseph Park, a kind of yin and yang. Joseph Park is the mild-mannered lawyer personality, while Abyss is a psychopath. I mean, Chris Park, Abyss.
Oh, it's like Superman. They changing a bit.
But yeah, although this time he has a mental issue. I think Bully Ray may have beaten him up too much that now he's got dual personality. And I think if Bubba's going to get his rear end kicked in the end, Bubba's going to find out, Joseph Park was Abyss the whole time.
We need Dr. Stevie on the case.
Here is a man that has not only turned it around 180 degrees, but he's gone another 360 and then another 180.
That doesn't make any sense, Mean Gene.
What do you think about that idea, Kev?
I believe Kev is not here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Anyways, we had Garrett Bischoff coming into Devon's locker room and offers to watch his back during his match tonight, and Devon accepts it, and he's impressed with Garrett.
Devon needs help beating Robbie E because he hasn't beaten him like 17 times already.
And for this weekend at Slammiversary, Devon offers to team with Garrett.
Which, by the way, that match was already announced like a week ago.
Yeah, Garrett and Devon versus Robbie E and Robbie T.
Just because.
During the break, we had Gail Kim answering questions from fans from Twitter.
Good for her. They're making good use out of her.
She said that Slammiversary will be just another random victory under her belt.
Again.
Bobby Roode will defeat Sting.
Of course.
Molly Holly and Tito Santana were inspirations in getting into the business.
Molly I can see. Tito Santana, I'm not sure.
Competing is the best feeling in the world, and she does it for the fans. She's a heel. She literally built the division on her back, and that she and Madison Rayne were a great team and would get the titles. By the way, they did get the titles back. He says get the titles whenever they get a shot. They have the tag titles again, I believe.
Well, Madison Rayne pines after somebody.
And Gail Kim says she is the logical choice for the TNA Hall of Fame.
Not yet, Gail.
I know. Hey, she's a heel. We then look back to last week when Joey Ryan failed the gut check, leading to a confrontation with Taz. They found asks if Taz has second thoughts, and Taz said, not for a minute. We then see a backstage segment where Joey Ryan is pissed, and he says Taz isn't the human suplex machine anymore, and he hasn't been relevant in years. Good point. Although Snow gets in his face and says to watch his mouth.
Speaking of people who haven't been relevant in years.
I know, and then Ryan continues to disrespect Snow by calling him pathetic, so Snow physically turns him around and walks him out the door.
Yay!
We have a TV title match. Devon wins in one of the worst spots I saw that, oddly enough, was named the Impact of the Night.
The small package.
Devon gets a small package. Referee is looking at Garrett. Robbie E reverses it.
Robbie T reverses it.
The referee sees Robbie and talks to him. Garrett, I think, waits a second before coming in the ring and turning him over. Referee counts the 1, 2, 3.
And go, duh, what happened?
I hate to say this, but this was bad. I mean, seriously, these two guys are just like, hold us with, these two botches try slowly get in the ring to change us.
Well, at least we'll have some material for Botchamania next week when this happens.
Yeah, I know. Robbie T was slow to get in the ring to do the first one. Garrett Bischoff gets in the ring and does it slowly too. That was insane. And that was the impact of the night. That was so horrible.
Could we put this match
it
on
was
the
a
pre-show?
match. Devon wins.
Pay-per-view.
Basically, the heels attack, but Devon and Garrett turn the tide and clear the ring. During the commercial break, they showed Sting preparing for the 6-man tag. We then had Gail Kim answering more Twitter questions. Gail says she was the greatest champion ever, and anyone who thought Brooke Tessmacher could defeat her was negative and bitter. And she doesn't like that because she's a positive person.
Uh-huh.
She turned down answering where she was most ticklish. And she said Madison Rayner's her best friend in the whole world, but the other women are too catty since they either want to beat her or have a crush on her.
Ooh.
I could deal with Gail Kim answering questions all. Gail Kim answering Twitter questions.
A Gail Kim Q&A for 2 hours.
Because she actually has a sense of humor about it. Then we had Hulk Hogan coming out, saying since Bobby Roode interrupted his announcement earlier, he's going to make the next announcement, but got interrupted by Ken Anderson. Hogan says he was about to announce some stuff, but he calls out RVD and then calls out Jeff Hardy. And Hogan says that since these two have been trying to get the title shot for the last 2 months, all these three guys, they're going to have a 3-way at Slammiversary.
And we have nothing else waiting for this pay-per-view that's coming up on Sunday.
And next week, and the winner will face Bobby Roode on Thursday.
Yay! Because they have
this. Hogan rewarding his boys again. I mean, Jesus, you have 4 people Hogan's been rewarding every freaking title shot to. RVD, Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson, and Sting. We've had one match with James Storm, the rifle person, who should be getting that title shot. And we had AJ Styles, a little bit of a feud there, before he went on to go with Daniels again.
For the 18th time.
Then we have our main event, which is Bobby Roode and the World Tag Team Champions versus Sting, AJ Styles, and Kurt Angle. AJ doesn't show up. Well, not yet.
No.
So it's basically 3-on-2 until AJ finally shows the hell up. And this all ends with everyone on the outside except Roode and Sting, and Sting makes Roode tap out to the sharpshooter, or the Scorpion Deathlock as he calls it. Sting picks up the world title and holds it before tossing it to Roode, who grabs it and runs like the coward he is. This was a pretty good... That's the end of the show. I actually liked this show. Like I said, it had holes I could poke, but that's any episode of Impact these days. And it didn't really insult my intelligence. Although one thing I do gotta say, and I'm going back to Joey Ryan because I forgot to mention this. They gave Joey Ryan a segment after they told him that they weren't going to accept him. Alex Silva got accepted, and we haven't seen him in 2 months.
Good work, TNA.
So TNA has already jumped the shark, basically saying, win the show, we ain't going to use you. Lose the gut check, we're going to use you immediately. And I thought this would be tough enough better, but no. They just kayfabed it. All the hell. And now there's no point in the gut check because nobody's going to want to win. You know? Nobody's going to want to get hired because getting hired means I have to sit in the shelf. Them saying no means I get immediate recognition. It is kind of confusing like that.
Yep.
And I guess we got to go through this Slammiversary card. Since that is this Sunday. Hold on, let me get the card out.
I've got it right in front of me, actually.
Oh, you do? Awesome.
Yes, I do. We start with Hernandez versus Kid Cash.
Who?
For some reason. I said Hernandez versus Kid Cash.
You're kidding me. That's part of the show?
Or if they're going to bring back the pre-show. I'm not sure. Yeah,
that's an interesting match. That's a very interesting match, and you know what? I'm gonna say Kid Cash because I really don't think Hernandez is useless at this point. Although they might try to have give Hernandez another push for the millionth time.
I say Hernandez.
What?
I say Hernandez.
You say Hernandez? Okay. Next match?
Crimson's Open Challenge, which will either be accepted by Matt Morgan.
Crimson's going to win.
Yeah.
I think Crimson's going to win, or somebody.
I don't know.
Or we're going to have an Ultimate Warrior moment where the guy comes out and beats Crimson immediately.
And, of course, the match we mentioned earlier, Devon and Garrett Bischoff versus the Robbies, which is happening for no good reason other than to get them on
Devon and Garrett are winning.
Samoa Joe versus Austin Aries. Is the X Division title on the line in this one?
You know, I want to say Austin Aries is winning this, but they could just give Austin Aries the loss here. Actually, no, Austin Aries I think is going to keep the belt. I understand would they try to have him lose the belt and go up for the world title contention. That'd actually be a good idea, but I don't see that happening here.
It says Samoa Joe versus X Division champion Austin Aries. It does not indicate that the title is on the line.
What are your prediction?
I'm going to say that if the title isn't on the line, then there's no harm in Samoa Joe winning.
You're actually going to have Samoa Joe win?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe,
maybe build something up for Destination X next month if this is non-title.
Mm-hmm.
Actually have Bully Ray versus Joseph Park.
I think Joseph Park's going to turn into Abyss and win this match.
I say lights go out, Pyro explodes, and Abyss appears and wins the match.
Yeah, Abyss is revealed to be Joseph Park the whole time.
What a ridiculous angle this is.
You know what? That's actually not a ridiculous angle. That's a good angle. Abyss having multiple personalities. Abyss be crazy enough to get that to work.
Knockout title, Gail Kim versus Brooke Tessmacher.
I think this is the time that Brooke's going to get the belt.
I agree. Tag titles, AJ and Angle versus Daniels and Kazarian.
I think Daniels and Kazarian are going to keep the belts.
I think AJ turns on Angle, and Daniels and Kazarian keep the belts.
Okay.
And we have a number one contenders three-way with RVD, Hardy, and Anderson because they have nothing else for these three to do, and they have no foresight.
Here's my prediction. I don't give a shit.
Skip it. Main event, Sting versus Rude.
Rude.
Yes, Rude. He'll end up facing probably Hardy, I'd say.
Seriously, the three-way... No, whoever wins that match is going to lose. And if they win on Impact, there'd be no freaking point.
Right.
So yeah, wasting our damn time with that shit.
Get the hell out of here with that.
Yeah. There is one person who is the rightful, the one man that should be challenging, and they're keeping him on the sideline. Huh?
Oh, we also have the TNA Hall of Fame. Who's going in?
You know what? TNA could be crafty and take a shot at WWE. Macho Man.
What?
Randy Savage.
I heard somebody else on the internet say that this weekend.
What?
I said I heard somebody else on the internet say that this weekend. I'd say probably either Jarrett. Maybe Sting.
You know, I think Jarrett or Sting would be a good idea, would be a typical choice. I think going out of the park and basically...
Hogan this weekend, too.
I basically think that they might do a 180 and say WWE, hey, you haven't signed Macho Man to your Hall of Fame? We're going to do it first.
Macho Man has, 1 month of history with TNA.
I know he did, but he's Macho Man.
Okay.
He's Randy Savage. I think that would actually be kind of ingenious to do that to WWE.
And dig up Lanny Poffo and have him do a poem and induct him?
I think Lanny Poffo would actually be there. TNA's shown Lanny Poffo and the Poffos more respect before Macho Man died than WWE did.
Really?
And that's a sad thing.